Part 146. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1451. In the blink of an eye, time came to November 1993. An important campus culture of Hogwarts kicked off, the Quidditch Cup. Quidditch is an aerial team confrontation sport that is popular in the entire wizarding world in the Harry Potter series. It is equivalent to football or basketball in the Muggle world. In the wizarding world, almost no one does not like this sport. Xiaoming, as a modern senior otaku who does not like basketball and football, has no feeling for Quidditch. The relevant information is in the memories of Dumbledore, Sirius, and Voldemort, but whenever Xiaoming checked it, he automatically skipped it. He did not pay attention at all. However, the little brothers and sisters around him, even the professors, ignored his wishes and bombarded these things into his mind one after another. The Quidditch season of Hogwarts starts from November every year to April of the following year. The four colleges compete against each other, and the college with the highest cumulative score will win the Quidditch Cup. Quidditch is named after Quidditch Swamp, where the game originated in the 11th century AD. After nearly 1,000 years of changes and development, today's Quidditch game was born. Like ordinary games, it is played on a field surrounded by stands, with 3 50-foot-high golden poles with rings on top at each end of the field. The contestants are divided into two teams riding broomsticks in the air to compete against each other. Each team has 7 people, 1 goalkeeper, 3 chasers, 2 beaters, and 1 seeker. As a ball game, Quidditch uses 3 different balls at the same time. A red ball the size of a football is the quaffle. The chasers pass the quaffle to each other and try to pass it through the opponent's ring, scoring 10 points each time. The goalkeeper is responsible for guarding the ring of his team. 2 black balls that are slightly smaller than the quaffle and more aggressive are called bludgers. They fly around in the air by themselves, always trying to knock the players off their brooms. The beater is responsible for protecting his teammates from being hit by the bludger and hitting it towards the opposing players. The last ball is a small golden ball with wings the size of a pine cone called the golden snitch. It flies as fast as lightning, and the seeker's job is to catch it. When the golden snitch is caught, the team that catches it directly gets 150 points, and the Quidditch game is over. But this does not mean that the team will definitely win, because the difference between the two teams may be greater than 150 points. The snitch has physical memory and can recognize the first person who touches it with his hand to prevent disputes when catching the ball. When the Department of Magical Games and Sports was established in 1750, a series of rules were formulated. It feels similar to the rules of football games. 1. During the game, although there is no limit on the flying height of the players must not exceed the boundaries of the field. If a player flies beyond the boundaries of the field, his/her team must hand over the quaffle to the opposing team. 2. The team captain can give the referee a timeout signal. This is the only time during the match that players can touch the ground. If a match has lasted for more than 12 hours, the break can be extended to 2 hours. If a team fails to return to the pitch after 2 hours, they will be disqualified. 3. The referee can award a team a penalty kick, similar to a penalty kick in football. The chaser who takes the penalty kick will fly from the center circle to the scoring area. All players, except the opponent's goalkeeper, must stay behind when the chaser takes the penalty kick. 4. During the match, players can take the quaffle from another player, but under no circumstances may players grab any part of another player's body. 5. During the match, if there is an injury on the field, no other player may replace the player. The team will continue the game after sending the injured player off the field. 6. Wands may be brought onto the field, but under no circumstances may they be used against opposing players' brooms, the referee, the ball, or other spectators. 7. A Quidditch game can only end when the golden snitch is caught or with the unanimous consent of the captains of both teams. 8. Only the goalkeeper can stop the opposing team's quaffle throw. Rule 7 made Xiaoming feel full of malice. If the two teams are equally strong, they can even fight until the end of time. It is said that the longest record of Quidditch games is 3 months. Not to mention the players, even the audience is exhausted. The Magic World's love for Quidditch is comparable to the Muggle World's love for football. There is even a Quidditch World Cup. It seems that there is no essential difference between wizards and Muggles. This sport has gradually become popular in the magic world of various continents. It is said that only Asia is not very popular with this sport. Because in many Asian countries, flying carpets are still the favorite means of transportation for wizards, while flying brooms are not often used. Only Japan has just begun to popularize this sport. When Zhang Qiu introduced it, he was still imagining that it would be great if the sport could be popularized in China. Xiaoming has no interest in this. Because this is in the reincarnation world, except for some places related to the plot and some derivative areas, other places, including China, do not really exist. Otherwise, Xiaoming would have done something else long ago. Of course, it would not be such a boring thing as promoting Quidditch. He would probably find various museums in Great Britain and send back all the cultural relics from China, and send other cultural relics as interest. As for whether he would do something more interesting, it depends on Xiaoming's mood. The protagonists all expressed regret for the stubbornness of the leader's right guard. Harry Potter also wanted to show off his skills in front of his new friends. In the first year of school, Harry showed flying skills beyond everyone's imagination, so Professor Minerva McGonagall recommended him to join the Gryffindor team and become a Seeker. The Seeker has only one task, which is to catch the Golden Snitch. The Golden Snitch is the fastest flying ball, and those who can serve as Seekers are also good at flying. Harry lived up to expectations and caught the Golden Snitch in the finals twice in the first and second years, winning the championship for Gryffindor. There is no doubt that his goal this year is of course to win 3 consecutive championships. There is also a small episode here. In the original book, Harry's right arm was broken in the second-year competition. The bone in his right arm was also broken by Gilderoy Lockhart, a teacher who was not good at spells. In this life, with the participation of reincarnations, several reincarnations took turns to use various abilities to protect Harry, so that he was not injured at all. As for the abilities used by reincarnations, the system will automatically block the curiosity of magicians and will not investigate the abilities and identities of reincarnations. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1452. What? Dementors attacked Harry Potter, and hours later, Xiaoming, who was informed by Professor Lupin, was shocked. Not because of the Dementors. The senior investigation team led by Lucius Malfoy brought several Dementors with them when they came to Hogwarts. For no other reason, they were used as guinea pigs to test various suspicious things found by the investigation team. There was actually nothing suspicious near Hogwarts Castle, but now in the eyes of the investigation team, almost everything was suspicious. They learned a new word from humans, genetic mutation. So they did not ignore any kind of animals and plants. They all took them to do experiments on Dementors. The result is imaginable. They have not found anything so far. However, Lucius and the entire investigation team are not in a hurry. How can there be results so quickly? This type of investigation often takes several years, or even more than 10 years. Lucius is not old, and he can wait. Once successful, it means that the Dementors have been completely tamed by the magic world. The names of Lucius and the Malfoy family can even be recorded in the history books. By then, wealth and honor will come rolling in. I am afraid that even Dumbledore will look up to him. Therefore, Lucius is very patient. Each Dementor brought by the investigation team is followed and protected by a magician at a certain distance. Among them, there are Aurors who can cast the Patronus charm. Under Dumbledore's suggestion, Xiaoming did not collect these Dementors immediately. Let them play for a while first. If they are taken away too early, I am afraid that these people will lose patience. Dumbledore believes that it is much better to let Lucius busy with this matter than to let him make trouble elsewhere. However, what he never expected was that in the Quidditch game, Harry encountered 2 or 3 Dementors in the sky because he flew too high. It was also because the magician in charge of guarding the Dementors was attracted by the game and did not take care of them for a while. As a result, Harry fell from a very high altitude. If he fell hard, he would definitely die. Fortunately, Dumbledore cast magic in time, and several school employees, that is, reincarnations, used various means to make Harry's body only slightly injured in the end. But this match between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff ended with the victory of the opponent. In addition, Harry Potter's Nimbus 2000 flying broom was also unlucky. Everyone focused on saving people, and no one paid attention to Harry's broom. The broom was blown to the vicinity of the Whomping Willow by the wind and was ripped into pieces. Dumbledore did not lose his temper as in the original book. Because the situation has changed, this time it was actually just an accident, and Harry's injuries were not serious. He was not that angry. In the original book, there were dozens of Dementors stationed by the Ministry of Magic near Hogwarts, and Harry was beaten by most of them. He was lucky as the protagonist that he was not killed directly by the Dementors in the air. So Dumbledore was furious and had a conflict with the Ministry of Magic. But in this life, there are only a few Dementors, and they are closely watched by the Ministry of Magic. They have no impact on the students of Hogwarts. Harry was attacked this time purely by accident. Who let the Quidditch game distract the Ministry of Magic's investigation team? Of course, Dumbledore was still very protective and took this opportunity to help Harry Potter extort a small sum from the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic compensated Harry with the most perfect flying broom for the game so far, Firebolt. In the original book, Sirius bought it for Harry. The Firebolt represents the highest level of craftsmanship at present. Its broom handle is made of ash wood, streamlined, exquisite, treated with a polish as hard as diamond, and has a hand-engraved registration number. Each twig of the broom at the tail is selected to make its streamlined shape perfect, so it is unparalleled in balance and precision. The Firebolt can accelerate to 150 miles per hour in 10 seconds and has a perfect braking device. It is the dream of every Quidditch player. It is a special broom used in all kinds of official Quidditch matches. Therefore, the negotiable price of the Firebolt is understandable. To be honest, it is very kind that this thing is not auctioned one by one. Harry can be regarded as a blessing in disguise. Many students even wish they could get hurt like this. It's a great deal. Many classmates lined up to beg Harry to test fly once, which led to his fame rising again. Draco was very angry, but he could do nothing about it. The Malfoy family can't buy Firebolts at will. Besides, the family's resources are now tilted towards Lucius's investigation. There is no spare money for him to spend. The Ministry of Magic is willing to pay such a valuable thing as compensation. After all, Fudge is now asking for help from others. As long as the requests of Hogwarts, Harry, Sirius, Dumbledore, and others are not excessive, he will be happy to meet them. Fudge had gained a lot of achievements and reputation just from the Sirius and Pettigrew incident. In comparison, a Firebolt was nothing. In fact, Fudge didn't spend too much money on it. Harry was now in the limelight, and the Firebolt maker was willing to use this to increase his popularity. The cost price was paid to the Ministry of Magic. Harry's fame was also due to the extensive reports by Rita Skeeter, who was controlled by Xiaoming. Since Harry was bound to become a celebrity in the wizarding world, Xiaoming helped him to establish his good reputation to avoid being slandered in the future. Of course, Xiaoming just said it casually. Rita went too far to show her loyalty. Even Hermione and Ron have gained a lot of good reputation. not to mention Harry's deceased parents, Dumbledore and Sirius. The matter was resolved satisfactorily. Only Harry was left with a serious psychological trauma due to the attack of the Dementors. Although it was more than 2 months late, the plot finally returned to the original book. After Harry recovered from his injuries, he naturally found his father's friend, Professor Lupin, the teacher of the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, and asked for help. Lupin wanted Harry to learn the Golden Light ninjutsu of the leader's right guard, which was a skill that could destroy the Dementors, but he had no choice but to give up. After all, even he had not started to learn ninjutsu, but only a few deans were doing experiments. Let's see the situation first. So Lupin began to teach Harry another magic to deal with Dementors, the Patronus charm. This spell can not only fight Dementors, but also other dark magic creatures. According to the book Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the Patronus charm is also the only known spell that can repel a magical creature called the Voldemort. The Voldemort is a rare bat species that can only be found in tropical areas. It looks like a black cloak and glides along the ground at night. Since the Voldemort usually attacks sleeping people, the victims rarely have the opportunity to use magic against it. The Patronus charm is not widely used. In addition, the Voldemort refers to its love of gliding along the ground, not that this bat has anything to do with Voldemort. The only thing they have in common is that they are both terrifying. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1453. The magic power in the world of Harry Potter is not the greatest. There are many powerful magics in the Magic Planet game. But the application of magic in this world is the most extensive. Deep into all aspects of life, and the control of space is exquisite. The leader's right guard, Huang Xiaoming, and Professor Lu Ping live together in a teacher's dormitory on the 8th floor of Hogwarts Castle. But please do not associate the dormitory with ordinary student dormitories. From the outside, it looks like just a portal, but once you enter the dormitory, it turns out to be something else. It's completely a 2-story apartment. The living room on the first floor alone can accommodate dozens of people for a party. Lu Ping and Xiaoming's bedrooms are on the 2nd floor. There are also various rooms such as study rooms and storage rooms. Usually when friends come to see Xiaoming, they usually play in the living room on the 1st floor. This time, the living room on the 1st floor was occupied, and Hermione, Ron, Xiaoming and others could only hide in their bedrooms. Occupying the living room on the 1st floor was none other than Professor Lupin and Harry Potter. The two of them were going to teach the Patronus charm. In the original work, Professor Lupin had just turned into a werewolf not long ago and had been working too hard and needed a rest. It took me a while to start teaching. In this life, due to Xiaoming's quiet hands and feet, he no longer transformed into a werewolf and started teaching earlier. However, it was impossible for Lupin to actually get a Dementor to serve as a sparring partner for Harry. Although Xiaoming is here, I can control it as much as possible. But that would expose Xiaoming's strength. Therefore, Lupin thought of a magical creature boggart that he used to teach at the beginning of the semester. That's what the Su family's reincarnation wants to get. A boggart is a magical, shape-shifting magical creature in the wizarding world that can look into your heart and transform into the thing you fear most. Its purpose of scaring people seems to be just to feed on human fear, rather than use this ability for self-defense. Therefore, it is also counted as a creature of dark magic. But boggart itself does not hurt people, it just scares people, which is equivalent to an illusion. If someone is scared to death, that's really unlucky. It is said that there is a legend about the monster under the bed circulating in the Muggle world, and its prototype is the boggart. But this cannot be verified. At the beginning of the semester, Lupin had already lined up all the students to face the boggart once. Everyone saw the fear in their hearts. What Hermione saw was Professor McGonagall saying that she failed all her exams, what Ron saw was a giant spider, what Neville saw was Professor Snape. Professor Lupin used to see the moon every time. Now because of Xiao Ming's manipulation, Lupin can no longer see the moon. So now the boggart in front of him will still appear in the form of the moon, but Lupin can't see it at all. After some time passes and the professor completely loses his fear of the moon, the boggart will probably turn into something else. That time. Since Harry had never encountered a Dementor before, what appeared in front of him was the handsome boy Voldemort looked like when he was young. In fact, that is the image of Voldemort's remnant soul left in the Horcrux Tom Riddle's diary. For the time being, he is what Harry is most afraid of. Speaking of which, the basilisk posed a greater deterrent to Harry, but Harry had killed the basilisk himself, so he would no longer be afraid of it. It was then the turn of Voldemort's remnant soul to support the scene. After being attacked by a Dementor, Lupin conducted an experiment and faced Harry's boggart again, and he turned into a Dementor. So I just use this thing for teaching. But there is a problem with Dementors. The more people there are, the less it knows what to become. That's why Xiao Ming and the others were driven to the bedroom on the second floor to play by themselves. It's finally time for Professor Lupin to pretend to be 13. He stood on the second floor holding the railing with both hands and started performing. Harry, are you sure you want to learn it? This is a very advanced magic, completely beyond the scope of the ordinary magician level examination. Yes, I'm sure, Harry replied firmly. Well, I've made all the preparations, Professor Lupin said as he walked down the stairs. The magic I'm going to teach you is called the Patronus Charm. Have you ever heard of it? Harry shook his head blankly. Hermione, the bully in primary school, would probably know. Too bad Harry couldn't. No? Okay then. The Patronus curse is a positive force. It is like a shield for the magician who summons it. It stands between himself and the Dementors. But to successfully summon it, you need to recall a memory. It is not an ordinary memory, it must be a happy and powerful memory. Can you do it? While Lupin was teaching Harry earnestly, Hermione and Ron were showing Xiao Ming the business results of the past 2 months. Look, brother, these are all good things I got in exchange for the Claude 6 type figure. This is sugar quill, just like the real thing. You can eat it in class without being discovered by the teacher. This is black pepper naughty, after eating it, it can spit fire from its nose. Ron introduced all kinds of weird things to Xiao Ming one by one, with a happy smile on his face. Because of the figures of Claude 6 styles and women's hanfu, the trio's popularity has skyrocketed in school. Become more popular than ever. After all, they were still children, so Ron and Hermione said they didn't care, but inwardly they enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. However, they are starting to worry now. With just these 2 things, it will be difficult to maintain the popularity. You never know when it will subside. Brother, the leader's right guard. Do you know that hanfu only has this style? There should be many kinds, right? Hermione asked Xiao Ming tentatively. Ron found an opportunity to cough twice. Hermione understood, and that knife, there should be many kinds, right? Can you make some more? This reminded Xiao Ming. The appearance of these figurines and real products was originally to catch Pettigrew and entertain a few children. Since it is so popular, it seems that it can be made into a real business. Although the Weasley family is one of the sacred 28 families, the family has fallen into poverty and has little money. Not to mention Hermione's family. Her parents are both Muggles, and they are still rich in the Muggle world because they are both dentists. Only then can they have the financial resources to support Hermione to go to magic school. Both husband and wife know something about the magic world, and even have personal contact with it. It is very likely that one of their parents is a magician. Hermione's magician bloodline should also come from there. But the assets of the Granger family are just like that. In the magic world, they are not considered middle class. Since the figures of Claude 6 Styles and Hanfu are popular, it shows that there is a lot of room for development in this business. Why not let these two companies run it? Just like Western legends are very popular in China. A foreign monk can be good at chanting. The mysterious legends of the East also have a broad market in the West. It is worth developing. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1454. Although Xiao Ming can't be said to know everything about business, he really doesn't know much. Thinking about it, the Weasley and Granger families are also the same. Fortunately, Ron's father, Arthur Weasley, has quite good connections and should be able to find a suitable operator. However, if Chinese-style weapons and clothes are simply sold as samples, they may not have many outstanding selling points. It would be nice to have a wonderful background story. That kind of thing also happens in Pangu. A certain manufacturer produced a batch of toys, but they were not easy to sell. They made a related cartoon that became popular, and the toys immediately went on sale. Xiao Ming decided to learn this wisdom. Pangyuxing's online novels are extremely developed. It is not difficult to find a few stories at random. The difficulty lies in finding the most suitable story. Xiao Ming finally chose the most famous series, Jin Dada's 15 novels. With just a few modifications, various weapons and clothes can be smoothly integrated into it. Of course, he was also a little worried that with European thinking, they might not be able to understand the Chinese cultural heritage in Jin Da's book. Maybe if you write some white text, they will be more receptive. Just out of inner persistence, Xiao Ming decided to test the waters with Jin Dada's novel first. If it doesn't work, change it again. Brother Ron, Sister Hermione, would you like to listen to me tell you an ancient Chinese legend? Telling stories. Okay, I like listening to stories the most. The stubborn Ron immediately clapped his hands in agreement. Hermione frowned slightly, wondering what the leader's right guard meant by this move. But there was no stopping him. Listening to stories from the East can also broaden your horizons, right? Please. Please, the two swordsmen each turned their swords upside down, held the hilt of the sword in their right hand, put their left hand on the back of their right hand, and bowed in salute. Before the two of them could stand up straight, a white light suddenly flashed, followed by a clang sound. The two swords intersected, and each of them took a step back. Everyone on the sidelines exclaimed, "Huh!" The story of Yu Nu Sword is narrated from Xiao Ming's mouth. The two little children were fascinated by it. Because Xiao Ming didn't just tell a story, he also used magic and illusion to create light and shadow effects. Just like watching a movie, Xiao Ming can only be regarded as the narrator. He chose this book mainly to match Claude 6 Styles and Hanfu. Let the U-girl wear Hanfu, hold Kimen weapons, get through the copy of King Wu's Guanwei Palace, and come to Fan Li and 11 Shi, it feels very touching. The story of Yu Nu Sword is not long, the full text is less than 20,000 words, very brief. When Xiao Ming was telling the story, he naturally added some flourishes, but it didn't take long. After listening to the story, both Ron and Hermione were deeply attracted by the plot of the story. Ron couldn't help but put Hermione in the role of the transsexual. Because he had only seen Hermione wearing Hanfu. Imagining Hermione like that, holding the sixth form of Claude, using all kinds of exquisite swordsmanship to easily kill thousands of warriors, Ron looked at Hermione with a straight look. Hermione started falling in love this year and had a slight crush on Ron. When I heard the love story between Fan Li, 11 Shi, and Yu Nu, I couldn't help but yearn for it. Being looked at directly by Ron, she was a little shy and a little bit happy. Quickly cover up your emotions by losing your temper. Pa, Ron received a small fist on the head that was neither light nor heavy, and Hermione said angrily, "What are you looking at? I'm not a beautiful girl." Ron also felt a little embarrassed, so he clarified, "Huh, of course you are not. You don't know swordsmanship, and you are not as beautiful as 11 she, well. This kid really doesn't know how to chat." Xiaoming is already a very slow person, and he also knows not to talk like this in front of girls. He quickly popped a BB multi-flavored bean into his mouth. "Hermione and Ron, how about we open a shop together? It will specialize in selling weapons and clothes in the story, including those small figures." Hearing this, Ron immediately forgot his embarrassment and praised repeatedly, "Okay, okay. It will be opened in Hogsmeade Village. It will definitely make a lot of money." Hermione asked while thinking, "So that story is just for publicity, right? I didn't expect that my brother has a good business talent. But just a story, a weapon, and a suit of clothes are definitely not enough. Will there be a follow-up?" "No problem, there will be more stories in the future, but they have to be released slowly. The clothes and weapons are all there. Come, take a look. Alchemy is all about convenience." Xiaoming waved his hands, and soon various figures appeared in front of them. "Awesome, well done, Harry, well done," Professor Lupin praised excitedly in the hall on the first floor. Harry Potter actually used the Patronus charm quite well during his second trial. "This is very awesome." Lupin couldn't help but feel excited. If this kind of thing is said, many people will be shocked. He found that Harry's magical talent was not at all inferior to that of his father, James Potter. Maybe he can still be better than his predecessor. Deeply happy for my friend. When Harry cast the Patronus charm, the memories he used were the memories of his parents' conversations with him. He wasn't even sure if it was real, but it was his fondest memory. Harry, who learned the Patronus charm, immediately ran upstairs to share his joy with his friends. Unexpectedly, I got another surprise. Ron and Hermione told him the story of the Sword of You one by one. Ron's language was quite exaggerated, but Hermione added very accurately and looked down upon Ron. In addition, the two emphasized the matter of opening a shop together. Professor Lupin was lucky enough to listen to this story. Not counting Xiaoming, a Tianshan Tonglao-like guy, Lupin, as the only adult present, felt that this matter had great potential. The professors were all very clear about the fact that the three children relied on Claude 6 styles and Hanfu to make a big splash in school. It's not that no one saw the business opportunity, but due to the special situation of the leader's right guard, no one was embarrassed to plagiarize. But if it takes a long time, it will be hard to say. Lupin was still thinking about when he would have a chance to talk to the right guard. Now it's good, these kids have thought of it themselves. Sirius Black simply represented Harry, and Lupin represented the leader's right guard to negotiate with the Weasley and Granger families. A few days later, the four families jointly opened a shop in Hogsmeade Village. The name of the shop is called Yunujian. It mainly sells comics and texts of Jin Dada's novels. Some peculiar weapons, various styles of Hanfu, and related figurines are also sold. There is a couplet at the door of the store, flying snow and shooting white deer, laughing at the book of the hero leaning on the green mandarin duck. This couplet was naturally written by Xiaoming. When others asked him the reason many times, Xiaoming just smiled and said nothing. At present, these figurines are popular in the whole Hogwarts school. With this trend, the Uinu sword shop quickly made its first pot of gold. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1455. The willow catkins were blown by the wind, and the snowflakes fell all over the sky. The whole Hogsmeade village was covered with a layer of white cotton clothes, and the streets, roofs, and trees became white. Heavy snow is a trouble for the Muggle world, which can easily cause many problems, such as blocking traffic, etc. It even requires government agencies to spend manpower and material resources to deal with it. But for magicians, clearing the snow is not a problem at all, and it can be done with a few magic spells. The reason why Hogsmeade Village remains covered with snow is that magicians like this atmosphere very much. In addition, they have been used to it for a long time. The long-distance transportation of magicians does not require roads, even if the heavy snow blocks the road. As the fame of the Unu sword shop gradually grew, even Dumbledore was alarmed. On this day, he took the leader's right guard to accompany him and came to the Unu sword shop in person. From a long distance outside the door, I saw the couplet flying snow and shooting white deer, laughing at the book and the hero leaning on the green mandarin duck. But old Den didn't know Chinese characters and thought it was some kind of spell. He looked at it for a few times and didn't understand it, so he memorized it deeply in his mind and would study it when he had time later. But he didn't ask. If Xiao Ming knew his thoughts, he would definitely laugh. It would be better to ask himself directly. Old Den had to work hard to study it. First, he had to know that it was Chinese characters. Second, he had to understand the meaning of each word. Then he would find that even though he knew the meaning of each word, he didn't understand it when he put them together. Finally, he understood what a couplet was, but he still couldn't understand what this couplet, which was not very neat in parallel, meant. The principal will suffer in the future. Welcome. Pushing open the door, 4 uniformed beasts dressed as maids lined up and bowed collectively to Dumbledore and Xiao Ming. Dumbledore's eyes flashed, and he came here for this. He had actually seen the comic strip of Yuan, Claude 6 Styles, Hanfu, so when the shop just opened, he didn't come to support it. It's not that he didn't want to come, but the matter was too small. Dumbledore's personal visit would attract unnecessary attention from all parties. Although old Dumbledore has never been to the Unu sword shop in person, when other professors go to Hogsmeade Village, most of them will go in to take a look when they see a new shop. Naturally, they will see the uniform beasts arranged here by the leader's right guard. Every time Xiao Ming is about to enter the reincarnation space, he usually takes back some of the beasts placed outside. Especially those beasts that have merged with 100 female ghosts such as Nai Xiaoqian. It is also very interesting to take them to experience the customs of different worlds in the reincarnation space. For this reason, Xiao Ming also adjusted the telekinesis settings of these uniform beasts. Make them visible to ordinary people. When in Hogwarts, it was Dumbledore's territory, and he was embarrassed to let them out. The Unu sword shop owns 1/4 of the property rights, which is just right for arranging hundreds of ghosts to breathe. They are still the most trustworthy shop assistants. From the outside, the shop doesn't occupy a large area. However, the Black family used powerful space magic. This shop is actually a 5-story building with a 3-story basement. Even if all the ghosts are put in, there is enough space. In addition, Xiao Ming has another subordinate who came out to take a walk. He is the number 10,000 insect human bodyguard, Cancer Gold Saint Seiya, Death Mask. Xiao Ming's other bodies and souls are in the world of Detective Conan next door. In that world without supernatural energy, the insect human bodyguards can't help at all. In the world of Harry Potter, Xiao Ming doesn't need their help. After all, even Dumbledore, the ceiling of human combat power, is not his opponent. Among the 3 bodyguards, number 100 Zhang Zhong is the most stable. He has been paying attention to the king's situation in Guangmingding. He doesn't feel bored at all. Neferpitou and Death Mask are not so honest. Since Zhang Zhong is watching, Death Mask ran to the underworld of Quafu for a stroll. Neferpitou, the number 1000, couldn't stay idle either. Xiao Ming was unwilling to put her in the outside world. Because her fighting power was also higher than Dumbledore's. If she ran around the world, who knows how many magicians she would kill. So Neferpitou was very bored, so he ran into the underworld to fight Death Mask. It was a match made in heaven. Finally, the gold saint was annoyed by her and asked the king to come out and hide. Xiaoming could still rest assured about Death Mask, so he let him do whatever he wanted. Now, if Xiaoming didn't deliberately sense it, he didn't know where Death Mask had gone. The professors of the school naturally didn't meet Death Mask. They only saw strange existences like made beasts. It was a bit like the ghosts in Hogwarts Castle, and a bit like those oil paintings, but there was no trace of magic. So someone quietly reported to Dumbledore. The principal would bring the leader's right guard to the Uinu sword shop in person. If you have any questions, you have to ask the master, right? They deliberately missed the weekend peak time, but still saw 2 students from Hogwarts in the store. They were Ron's 2 brothers, Fred and George. Others were not as naughty as them. This time they sneaked out of school for the same purpose as Dumbledore, and they also came to the store to see the beast. Of course, their thoughts were completely different from Dumbledore's. They were just here to enjoy the sight. With their strength, they could not tell that the made beast was not human. They did not care about the goods in the store. The Weasley family also held a 1/4 share and had seen everything. Now that they were caught by the headmaster, Xiaoming thought they would be particularly embarrassed. Unexpectedly, Fred and George lifted their clothes, covered their faces and ran away, and Dumbledore just shook his head and smiled without saying a word. It turned out that they had known the headmaster's temper for a long time and would not punish them at all. So they ran away. If it were Professor Snape or other professors, Gryffindor would probably be deducted 20-100 points. This score is directly related to the ownership of the College Cup. During the student's study at Hogwarts, every outstanding performance will win points for his college. On the contrary, every violation will also cause the college to be deducted points. At the end of the school year, the house with the highest score will win the House Cup, and the headmaster will announce the winner of the House Cup at the end of year banquet. Gryffindor has won the House Cup for 2 consecutive years since Harry Potter came. In the first year, the 3 protagonists stopped Voldemort's plot to steal the Philosopher's Stone. In the second year, they solved the basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets. Such major events added a lot of points to Gryffindor. This is also one of the reasons why the 3 are very popular in the college. As for other colleges, it's hard to say. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1456. As for the ownership of the Hogwarts House Cup, Albus Dumbledore, as the headmaster, should have been impartial and strictly abided by the rules and regulations. But he indulged the Weasley brothers Fred and George. Xiaoming guessed that Dumbledore might have seen the shadow of the 4 marauders in these 2 people. He loved the house and loved the dog. He didn't know what this cunning guy was thinking. He only knew that the Weasley twins were even more naughty than the marauders back then. They even dared to steal from the school's faculty and staff. Of course, they only stole from one person, that is, Argus Filch, the Hogwarts janitor. Filch was a squib, born in a wizard family but could not use magic. This situation, to a certain extent, caused his terrible character and hatred towards the students in the school. Filch raised a cat named Mrs. Norris, who was almost all of Filch's spiritual sustenance. Like Filch, it strolled in the corridors of the castle all day long. This skinny creature with dark gray fur has bulging eyes like Filch's light bulbs. It often patrols the corridors alone. It is not easy for students to find it. If you commit a foul in front of it, even if one toe is out of line, it will run to Filch quickly. 2 minutes later, Filch will run over with a grunt and a gasp. Filch knows the secret passages in the campus and will suddenly jump out like a ghost. The students hate him to the core. Mrs. Norris is also hated. Last year, Mrs. Norris was petrified by the basilisk. All the students sighed, Why doesn't it die? But they can't really do anything to it. In the castle, Filch has his own office. It is a small room with an oil lamp hanging from the ceiling and filled with the smell of grilled fish. There are filing cabinets for student violation records. There are also drawers for confiscated student items. Fred and George got a special drawer here. Hanging from the ceiling of the office are chains and handcuffs that he has polished to a shine. Once he gets permission, he will use them to punish students who violate the rules. In Xiao Ming's opinion, this behavior far exceeds the scale of school punishment and is simply child abuse. Fortunately, he has not had the opportunity so far. In the original book, when Umbridge was in power at Hogwarts in the later period, she and Filch hit it off and really gave Filch a lot of opportunities. However, Filch did not die until the end. Because he was a squib, even Voldemort would not accept him as a Death Eater. The Justice side did not need him to go to the battlefield. It can be seen that he was lucky. It was also because he did not do anything too bad in normal times, and it was not worth being punished. The professors at Hogwarts have the power to confiscate some of the students' items that violated school rules. Filch is very willing to do this. Other professors occasionally confiscate students' things, but they will return them to the students at the end of the semester, or directly to the students' parents. This is the behavior of a serious professor. But Filch never returned the things he confiscated. He put them all in his office. Therefore, he was particularly hated by students, and his popularity was even worse than that of Professor Snape. So the brothers Fred and George always stole the things he confiscated. In addition to the things that were returned to their original owners, there were also those items that were so old that the original owners could not be found, so the two of them kept them for themselves to play with. Among them was a magical thing, the Marauder's Map. This thing has a great origin. The Marauder's Map is a magic map invented by the four Marauders, which is specially used for pranks. After bedtime, they often transformed into animals to explore everywhere, which made them know a lot about the underground passages of Hogwarts. Almost all the secret passages were discovered. Even so, they didn't seem to find Slytherin's Chamber of Secrets. After all, that one needs a snake-mouthed man to open it. Fortunately, they didn't find it, otherwise they would have to face the basilisk. The Marauders drew all the places they found into the Marauder's Map. At first glance, this map is just a blank piece of parchment. When the user waves the wand, clicks on the map and says "I solemnly swear that I have no intention of doing anything good," words begin to appear on the parchment. Mr. Mooney, Mr. Wormtail, Mr. Padfoot and Mr. Prongs, I am honored to present you with the Marauder's Map. These are the nicknames of the creators. They represent their animal forms. Mooney represents Lupin as a werewolf, Mr. Wormtail refers to Pettigrew as a mouse, Mr. Padfoot refers to Black's black dog, and Mr. Prongs refers to Potter as a stag. Then the ink line will continue to extend, and a map of Hogwarts will emerge. The map shows the location of everyone in Hogwarts at all times, and there are ways to open secret passages. After use, just wave the wand and say "mischief done" to restore the map to a blank state. Everyone who has played computer strategy games knows how great the advantage of having a full map is. The plunderers completely wasted the power that this map should have. It is worth mentioning that they were able to create such a magic map when they were students. Their talents and abilities are undoubtedly strong. Xiao Ming suspected that if they had not wasted most of their energy on such boring things, but had concentrated on practicing their combat abilities, Voldemort might not have been able to defeat them. The Marauder's Map was confiscated by Filch, but Filch was a dud and didn't find out how to use it, so he just put it in a drawer and it was taken away by the twins. In the original book, the twins gave the Marauder's Map to Harry Potter to help him go to Hogsmeade. These two guys are also guys who waste resources and are the same as the looters. Because of this map, Pettigrew was exposed. Because even if he turned into a mouse, the map could recognize him. Lupin only believed Sirius after seeing his name on the map. In this life, these things are meaningless. Harry doesn't need it to go to Hogsmeade, and Pettigrew was captured early. The Weasley brothers should have kept this map. However, these two idiots were fascinated by the things in the Euenigian shop, including those uniform beasts that merged with female ghosts. So, they took the initiative to take the Marauders map and exchanged a whole set of uniforms with the leader's right guard. The Weasley family owns 1/4 of the items sold in the store, so there is no need to buy them separately. But Xiao Ming has many different uniforms in his mind. Fred and George, who are also fans, begged him and took out this treasure, and only then did they get countless uniform styles from Xiao Ming. Not only what the 100 ghosts showed, but also what Xiao Ming's mind beast contained, and what Xiao Ming had in his mind. They didn't feel that they were losing money at all. The Marauders map is really useless in Xiao Ming's hands. Only the magic inside is worth studying. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1457. Speaking of which, since the leader's right guard, Huang Xiaoming, has given all styles of uniforms to the twin brothers, why did they come to the Uinu sword shop? For no other reason. Clothes are just clothes after all, unlike the mind beasts, which have beauties inside. Only when they match can they shine. They are naturally here, to appreciate beauty. They never expected to meet the principal by chance, and they could only run away in fear. Of course, they did not doubt that the principal and they had the same purpose. Because according to legend, Dumbledore is a homosexual and cannot be interested in beautiful women. This kind of thing is not discriminated against in the British Empire. It is even widely respected. This is why Britain is often called the country of corruption. Looking at Fred and George who fled, Dumbledore smiled and twisted his beard, and Xiao Ming couldn't help but smile. After casually looking at the goods on the shelves, Xiao Ming invited Lao Deng to a tea room in the store to chat while drinking tea. Feeling that the environment here is very good, Dumbledore came up with the idea of using this place as a temporary base for members of the Order of the Phoenix. After taking a sip of the light green tea, the principal frowned and felt that it was not very appetizing. He was used to drinking iced lemon juice, butter beer, honey wine, and other sweets. Even when drinking tea, it was black tea with sugar and milk. He really couldn't get used to this light green tea. Seeing this, Xiao Ming quickly instructed the maid with his mind to bring a glass of honey wine. Old Deng took a sip and nodded with satisfaction. After so long, Dumbledore already knew that although the leader's right guard looked only 6 years old, he was actually mature and sophisticated. It was right to treat him as an adult. If there was no secret method of keeping youth in ninjutsu, it was that the ninja world was too cruel, causing this child to be so old. Old Deng felt a little sorry for Xiao Ming, but he couldn't criticize the ninja world directly, so he had to skip it. The two chatted for a while and talked about subduing the mind beast. Xiao Ming couldn't use ninjutsu to evade this. After all, Dumbledore has already refined chakra, and the mind beasts give him a completely different feeling. Xiao Ming can only say that these subdued mind beasts were given by the family after he completed the A-level mission last year. He doesn't know what they are. But he can guarantee that they are completely harmless. Dumbledore thought about it and it was indeed harmless. Even if these mind beasts are counted as female ghosts, their strength is not particularly strong. Probably normal auras can deal with them. He actually saw the emergence of an unknown force and wanted to find out the bottom. It would be best to arrange for others to learn from the leader's right guard. Since Xiao Ming said it was a reward, he could only give up. Dumbledore took a sip of the wine glass and said, "Child, I have something to ask of you." "Principal, please speak." "You must have heard of Voldemort. It is rumored in the magic world that he is dead, but I have a feeling that he will make a comeback soon. This matter doesn't seem to have much to do with me, right?" Xiao Ming thought Dumbledore wanted him to deal with Voldemort, but Xiaoming was not interested. This meaning was revealed in the response. He, don't worry, my friend. This is a matter of the British magic world. It won't involve you, a child. I mean, your store is very good. Then, Dumbledore spent nearly 10 minutes explaining his intentions. Wanting the Yuan store as a base is nothing. He also wants the leader's right guard to be the secret keeper. As mentioned earlier, Peter Pettigrew was the Potter couple's secret keeper. Because of his betrayal, the couple was killed by Voldemort. So what is a secret keeper? This has to mention an extremely complex magic spell, Fidelius Charm. This is a very powerful magic. Use a spell to hide a secret forever in the soul of a living person. The selected person is the secret keeper. As long as the secret keeper does not reveal it, the secret will not be discovered. If Pettigrew had not revealed the Potter couple's hiding place to Voldemort, even if someone put their nose against the glass of their living room, they would not see them in the house. Therefore, Voldemort and the Death Eaters like to capture people for interrogation, not just because they are tyrannical, but there is another reason. It is not necessarily that one of them is the role of the secret keeper. Most people cannot withstand the torture of magic. Their methods are much more powerful than those of the FBI, MI5 and the like. If it really doesn't work, they can kill the secret keeper, and then the Fidelius charm will immediately become ineffective. So their methods are very effective. Dumbledore has no intention of involving a child from the East in the disputes of the wizarding world. But this child is really very suitable for the role of the secret keeper. Old Dumbledore plans to reorganize the Order of the Phoenix and use the Uinu sword shop as a base. Originally, he wanted to be the secret keeper himself. However, he had a hunch that he didn't have much time left. If he died accidentally one day, all members of the Order of the Phoenix would automatically become secret keepers. A secret known to so many people is no longer a secret. So the leader's right guard appeared in the headmaster's mind. He is too suitable. First, the leader's right guard is strong enough, and it is almost impossible to be captured and forced to confess, so the safety is very high. Second, he is young, only 6 years old, and a genius in magic and ninjutsu. It is not a problem for him to live for 100 years. There is no need to consider changing him. Third, he is a small target. If no one tells him, no one would think that such a child would be the secret keeper. Fourth, the waiters of the Uinu sword shop, that is, those uniformed mind beasts, are quite combative. Even if foreign enemies really come, they can provide good defense, and at least delay enough time. After Lao Dumbledore said this, Xiaoming agreed. This matter does not cost him anything, but he can earn a lot of favors for free, why not do it? Besides, Xiaoming has seen the Fidelius charm in Dumbledore's memory. He knows that this magic is very complicated, but the effect is absolutely awesome. There are almost no similar abilities in other supernatural energy tricks. It is the top method to keep secrets. If you use telekinesis, you may be able to achieve similar results. But Xiaoming is not willing to use his limited telekinesis in this regard. In addition, when Dumbledore casts a spell on himself, he can observe the whole process nearby, which is also a good learning opportunity. So Xiaoming readily agreed. Lao Dumbledore didn't say much nonsense, and immediately cast this magic, setting the Uinu sword shop as a secret base of the Order of the Phoenix, and the secret keeper is the leader's right guard. Now, as long as Xiaoming doesn't reveal the secret, no one else can see any gathering of the Order of the Phoenix members in the store. Unfortunately, because the magic is quite advanced, Xiaoming didn't learn it immediately after watching it, but only deepened his understanding. After practicing for a while, he finally mastered the Fidelius spell. This is a later story. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1458. Winter is gone and spring is here. As the Whomping Willow shakes off the snowflakes, Hogwarts, no, the entire British Empire has entered the spring of 1994. The first group of reincarnations Xiao Ming met in this world have completed their mission and returned to the reincarnation space to settle their rewards. The Su family did get their target, Bogart. They didn't rob it. They accumulated enough goodwill by completing tasks for Professor Lupin and helping the protagonists in many ways. At the last moment, Xiao Ming also helped to say a few words. The mission was successfully completed. Xiao Ming received a decent gift -3% of the wax fruit. In order to let Xiao Ming help, the Su family provided a variety of options, but none of them were particularly expensive. After all, after Harry mastered the Patronus charm, Bogart was no longer of much use to Lupin, and the reincarnationists did not need to pay too much. And the goodwill they accumulated was almost the same. If it was a little lacking, they could just spend some money on a certain plot character. The reason for looking for the leader's right guard is nothing more than that it is relatively cheaper and safer to ask for a reincarnation. To please the characters in the plot, you need to cater to their preferences. If you are unlucky, you may have to give up a lot of good things. Reincarnation is relatively reliable. The Su family gave the leader's right guard a lot of room for choice. But in Xiao Ming's case, it is still the most cost-effective to choose a devil fruit. Because any complete devil fruit can become 100% as long as it passes through him. The wax fruit appeared relatively early in the world of One Piece, and the eater Mr. 3 Galdino is not a very strong character, so it is relatively easy to obtain. This is a superhuman fruit. The ability user can produce wax and make various things with wax, but wax products are afraid of fire, so the ability user is also afraid of heat. Galdino has developed this fruit quite well, and many ways of using it have been circulated. He can produce a large amount of candle mucus with his body, and the solidified wax is as hard as steel. He can use it to change his appearance, trap enemies, make wax figures, keys, etc. Therefore, the wax fruit is very popular among the reincarnations. After the reincarnation uses it, even if the fruit ability is only manifested in one hand, it can produce wax and become an excellent locksmith. In the various and wonderful reincarnation worlds, it must play a significant role. The general team hopes that there is such a reincarnation. Of course, many male reincarnations who take the wax fruit hope that their luck will be better, so that a certain part can produce wax and change shape, which is awesome. To be honest, there are very few people with such good luck. More people take devil fruits that are effective in useless places, wasting the fruit in vain. However, they are not discouraged, and will continue to save money and buy more wax fruits. If they continue to accumulate, there will always be a time when they are lucky. Therefore, when the leader's right guard gave up 5% and 8% of other devil fruits and asked for 3% of the wax fruit, the reincarnation who came to hand over showed an expression that everyone understood. Xiao Ming knew that he was thinking wrong, but he couldn't dispel the other party's idea. Even if he told it, people wouldn't believe it, not to mention that he couldn't tell the truth, so he had to let him be. Why did he choose the wax fruit? Mainly because the ability of this fruit can generate a large amount of wax, and it can also be shaped, which is very convenient for making figures. In addition, Xiao Ming has alchemy, which can transform wax into various other substances, saving a lot of source energy compared to generating substances out of thin air. Besides, the other two options provided by the Su family are the quick-cut fruit and the imitation fruit, which are not as useful as the wax fruit. The wax fruit is actually only a little better. After the last batch of reincarnations left, Xiao Ming was looking forward to the next batch. As long as the reincarnations who came to this world have some common sense, they should be able to find themselves. He then has a group of people with whom he can exchange items. Maybe he can get more and better devil fruits. If the other party is blind and provokes him to fight, it will be even better. Just beat them and rob them. Xiao Ming's heart is also dark enough. But this possibility is actually very low. There are no children this young among the reincarnations, and the youngest is a junior high school student. Any reincarnation with some experience will not treat the leader's right guard as a soft persimmon when seeing him. It is unlikely that he will give him an excuse to rob. And the reincarnations without this knowledge are probably all newbies, and they cannot recognize the true identity of the leader's right guard. After waiting for a long time, Xiao Ming realized that this world probably won't welcome new reincarnations in the next 6 months. The problem actually lies with him. In the original book, the plot of the second half of the year is that the protagonists exposed Pettigrew in the Shrieking Shack, Harry recognized Sirius, repelled the Dementors, and saved Sirius and Buckbeak. But these things have been completed. Even if the reincarnations were sent, there was no main task to be issued, so the reincarnation space was simply emptied for this period. No new reincarnations were arranged to come. It is rare for the protagonists to be quiet for a year. With the new broom Firebolt, Harry once again helped Gryffindor win the Quidditch Cup this year. Hermione also learned a lot of lessons by using the Time Turner, and her outstanding performance added a lot of points to Gryffindor, so they won the College Cup for 3 consecutive years. The time converter she used is a magical prop that allows the user to go back a certain time. It is quite powerful. It looks like a small, shiny golden timer with a very long and fine gold chain. Every time the switch of the time converter is turned, it can go back 1 hour in time. In order to have a time converter, Professor McGonagall must write various letters to the Ministry of Magic, telling them that the owner is a model student and will never use it for anything other than studying. In the original book, this was naturally not possible. Hermione and Harry did a lot of things with the time converter. It is not needed in this life. Xiao Ming knew the existence of this thing through Dumbledore's memory, and also knew that the time converter was hanging around Hermione's neck. You can grab it with your hand. But he didn't take it away. It is said that this thing is taboo. In particular, the person cannot appear in front of his previous self. Otherwise, there will be unpredictable consequences. With Xiao Ming's detection ability, it is difficult for him to avoid his own detection, and it will almost certainly trigger that terrible consequence. So this thing can only be kept away from him. Others might have the courage to try and see what happens, but Xiao Ming, who follows his heart, would not take such a meaningless risk. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1459. In the first half of 1994, the curriculum of ninjutsu also changed accordingly. The 5 deans began to practice real ninjutsu, and at the same time they also taught others to refine chakra. The 5 of them were able to comprehend chakra mainly because they were all extremely talented people, and others were different in intelligence and might not be able to do it. When teaching those people, they would definitely encounter problems that they had not encountered. In fact, the effect would be better if Xiao Ming taught them personally. But Dumbledore did not intend to let more people know about this for the sake of protecting the leader's right guard. So the 5 deans each taught the people they liked, and if they encountered a problem that they could not answer, they would ask Xiao Ming for advice. Although it was a little troublesome, they did not mind. In the process of repeated consultation, their understanding of ninjutsu would become deeper and deeper. In the past 6 months, Xiao Ming taught the 3 body techniques of basic ninjutsu to the 5 people. The 3 body techniques are the 3 most basic ninjutsu in the entire ninjutsu system of Naruto. The difficulty of learning is infinitely close to 0, and even underage ninjas can learn and use it. The 3 body techniques are clone technique, substitute technique, and transformation technique. Every year, the ninja graduation exam randomly selects one of the 3 ninjutsu as the exam question. Ninjas who cannot skillfully use the three body techniques will not be able to graduate from the ninja school. Using the clone technique, you can forge several clones. The clones have no entity and cannot attack, which can confuse the sight. Using the substitute technique, you can instantly swap your position with something, which looks like teleportation. Using the transformation technique, you can change yourself into other people or objects. After releasing the ninjutsu, you can change back to human form. It is much more useful than the deformation technique. Every ninja knows these three ninjutsu, but if they are not used well, they are useless. If they are used well, they are all magical skills. I don't know how many ninjas' lives have been saved by the three body techniques. Xiaoming himself hardly uses these three ninjutsu. He has better and more powerful abilities, but it is still necessary to teach them to Dumbledore and others. He didn't think of reaching the sky in one step and teaching particularly advanced ninjutsu. With the amount of chakra of Lao Deng and others, they can only learn low-level ninjutsu at present. The professors are worthy of being professors. Although they are all beginners in ninjutsu, they have rich practical experience. They are also much faster in applying ninjutsu than ordinary people. After learning the three-body technique, the 5 people quickly developed dozens of ways to use the three-body technique in actual combat. They can play a miraculous effect at critical moments. Especially in the battle of magic duel, people who don't understand ninjutsu will definitely be confused. Not to mention coping. Most of these uses are beyond Xiaoming's imagination, and of course they are basically unused. I can only admire the outstanding talents of the 5 professors. In addition to the three-body technique, Xiaoming did not teach them more ninjutsu, but instead strengthened their training in physical skills. For magicians, physical skills can sometimes play a more powerful role than ninjutsu. Magicians are also flesh and blood. If they are hit in the vitals by shuriken, darts, etc., they will be seriously injured and die. In addition, when the opponent is preparing to cast a spell, you can throw a shuriken to knock off his wand, and you win. Casting the magic Expelliarm can also knock off the wand. But if the distance is close, the shuriken is faster. A hidden weapon hits the opponent before he can even finish the spell. The effect of these people practicing physical skills is much worse than practicing ninjutsu. Among them, only Snape is the youngest, 34 years old this year. He has also passed the strongest age. The other 4 professors are already old. It is really difficult to learn physical skills. Fortunately, their bodies are still healthy. After all, there is magic power in the body to nourish the body, and the body is much stronger than that of their peers. Faced with the hardships of physical training, they have been gritting their teeth and persisting. This makes Xiaoming very admired. There are 2 reasons why the 5 professors are so perseverant. First, they hope to master physical skills and pass them on to students, so that they don't have to ask the head of the right guard to come forward in person. Second, after seeing the power of physical skills, they found that they had to practice, otherwise they would easily capsize in the gutter and be defeated by similar methods in the future. On this day, in the room of whatever requests are granted, the 5 professors were sweating profusely, resting and panting, while discussing with the leader's right guard. Professor Mkanagal said, "Children, your Eastern ninjutsu is really powerful. I want to ask, when can you teach us the 18 dragon subduing palms?" Hearing this, the other 4 also looked at the leader's right guard with burning eyes. Several people have longed for the 18 dragon subduing palms for a long time. Everyone can guess the reason. That's right, the story of the legend of the Condor heroes is being serialized in the Uinu sword shop. This book is so popular that even the professors can't put it down. Xiaoming's plan is to serialize 1 long novel or 2 novellas every school year. This year is the first year of the launch, and Xiaoming chose the book The Legend of the Condor Heroes. The short Uinu sword is not included. At first, Mag thought it was just something in fairy tales, all fictional. After practicing taijutsu, she found that it might not be true. The martial arts in that book seemed to be completely achievable. Maybe it was ninja kung fu. She thought that the taijutsu taught by the leader's right guard was probably to prepare for more advanced martial arts and lay the foundation. I just asked today. Xiaoming suddenly felt like he had shot himself in the foot. He had no plan to spread Chinese martial arts in this world. But he didn't want to deceive these old people on this matter. Before, in the Uinu sword shop, Xiaoming could play dumb about subduing the mind beast, because the magicians couldn't understand the mind beast. However, martial arts and mind power are different. As long as Xiaoming uses martial arts, it can be seen at a glance. And maybe one day in the future, he will really perform the 18 dragon subduing palms. If I lie to them now and say that I can't do it, how embarrassing it will be in the future. It's not worth it for such a small matter. After a moment of hesitation, Xiaoming sighed and said, I can only teach you ordinary physical skills. The advanced martial arts such as the 18 dragon subduing palms can only be learned by disciples. The rules of the martial arts sects are very strict. These are actually in the book, you should know. Dumbledore nodded and said, Indeed. According to your book, apprentices cannot disobey their masters. Otherwise, it is a great rebellion. We old guys have responsibilities. It is impossible for us to worship you as our master. I guess you don't dare to accept us. The leader's right guard nodded in agreement. Old Dumbledore continued, but I think the chivalrous spirit in your book is also worth promoting in Britain. If I introduce some young people to worship you as their master, will you accept it? Well, let me think about it. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1460. Why did Xiaoming introduce ninjutsu into the world of Harry Potter series? Well, he just did it for fun. Later, he found an excuse, which was to balance the power system of this world. The supernatural energy in the world of Harry Potter series was originally only magic, which caused a huge gap between magicians and ordinary humans. Even within the magician system, there was a conflict between pure-blood magicians and half-blood magicians. Voldemort was one of the products of this dispute. After all, headed by the Holy 28 clans, a large number of magicians hold the concept of pure blood. They are just not as extreme as Voldemort. This kind of thing seems disgusting to Xiaoming. After the introduction of chakra, as ninjutsu spreads, strong people will naturally emerge among those muggles. The upper limit of the ninja profession is much higher than that of the magician. Even the chunin is not inferior to the magician. Look at what those magicians are proud of. In fact, the world of Naruto also attaches great importance to bloodline. It is basically a world of competing fathers and ancestors. However, Xiaoming has not encountered the Naruto world or secret realm many times, and has not experienced the later plot, so he does not have a deep feeling about this aspect. Besides, since ninjutsu is introduced into the Harry Potter world, everyone starts from zero and is not qualified to compete with bloodline. But after a few generations, it may repeat the same mistakes. Humans have this problem. Therefore, it may be better to introduce the concept of martial arts now. The three-legged tripod is more stable. After all, the threshold of martial arts is relatively low. It does not compete with bloodline, but only looks at talent and understanding. It is relatively fairer. Then which specific martial arts to introduce is more debatable. Changshengju is definitely not to be considered. The difficulty of cultivation is too high and not suitable for promotion. Tai Chi Bagua, 5 elements and 4 symbols, Tiangang Baidu, Kim and Shushu, such advanced methods are probably incomprehensible to Europeans. Don't make it too difficult for them. In fact, there is also a powerful physical technique 8 gates in Naruto, which is extremely powerful. Unfortunately, Xiaoming didn't know about the existence of this physical skill. There are martial arts suitable for promotion, such as Dragon Elephant Prajna Kung. According to Jin Dada's setting, Dragon Elephant Prajna Kung is divided into 13 levels. The first level of Kung Fu is very simple. Even a fool can master it in 1 or 2 years as long as he is taught. The second level is twice as deep as the first level, and it takes 3 or 4 years. The third level is twice as deep again, and it takes 7 or 8 years. In this way, it increases exponentially, and it becomes more and more difficult to progress. After the fifth level, if you want to practice a deeper level, you often need more than 30 years of hard work. In Jin Dada's book, human lifespan is limited, and the most profound practice of this Kung Fu is probably the Golden Will Dharma King, who has practiced to the 10th level. Among the reincarnations, Xiaoming estimates that some people will definitely practice to the 13th level. But they are probably just practicing for fun. If reincarnations want to have enough life, they must practice other stronger supernatural energies. In comparison, Dragon Elephant Prajna Kung is not very useful. Of course, there is another way, which is to directly improve the realm through space rewards. Xiaoming does not know much about this aspect. He himself has an almost infinite lifespan, but he is not interested in practicing the Dragon Elephant Prajna Kung Fu. After all, the Changsheng Ju is more powerful. Speaking of which, this world is also an opportunity. Xiaoming plans to live here for a while, and he can take this opportunity to continue to improve the power of Changsheng Ju. But there is also a problem. Conan's world blocks supernatural energy, and Xiaoming can't practice martial arts no matter how many bodies he consumes. The only one who can practice is Huang Xiaoming in the Harry Potter world. With Xiaoming's current realm, he is not afraid of other supernatural energies affecting his practice. The research work of magic and other things can be completely handed over to Yin Xiaoming and Hong Xiaoming, whose bodies have died and whose souls are still idle. Huang Xiaoming can even use the ability of Earth Grudge to split 2 bodies for the 2 of them to use. The masked monster that Kakuzu created is too ugly. Xiaoming is more powerful, and his split body can be made into any image. He used his own adult image. Since this is not the resurrection function of the reincarnation space, the space has no control over it. If the resurrection function is used, Silver Xiaoming and Red Xiaoming will appear in the world of Detective Conan, which is meaningless. Finally, Xiaoming decided to spread the martial arts of the Shaolin school. Vajra Subduing Demon Circle, Great Movement Body Skill, Vajra Indestructible Magic Skill, Arhat Fist, Powerful Vajra Palm, Clear and Quiet Finger, Dragon Claw Hand. These Shaolin unique skills were given to him by S-level Master Xianku about a week ago in reality. Now it is considered as borrowing flowers to offer to Buddha. I believe everyone can guess the reason for choosing Shaolin martial arts. This school of martial arts has a characteristic. Each martial art needs to be resolved by the corresponding compassionate Buddhist Dharma. People who practice these martial arts need to have a compassionate heart to practice well, otherwise they will inevitably be backlashed by martial arts. It can barely reach the point where good character and good martial arts are good. Xiaoming can still feel a little more at ease when spreading this kind of martial arts. After making up his mind, Xiaoming spent some time writing, and then took out 14 secret books and gave them to Dumbledore, 2 for each of the 7 martial arts. After receiving such a thick stack, old Dumbledore took a look and was confused for a moment. What does 2 copies mean? Xiaoming smiled and said, Principal, this is the Chinese martial arts secret book that we obtained before we went into seclusion in our village. As far as I know, these martial arts have been lost in China. Dumbledore heard the song and understood the elegant meaning. You mean to give one of them to China? Well, that's fine. We have received favors from others, and we should repay them. This matter is all on me. It's just martial arts. It's our first time practicing, so we need a lot of help from my friends. That's natural. Xiaoming nodded decisively. What I said to my heart, originally, I didn't intend for you to realize it on your own. The basic knowledge about meridians, acupuncture points, and other martial arts in the manual are all things that you Westerners know nothing about. If I don't help, I won't be able to do it even if I give you 1,000 years to practice. Of course, this idea is a bit arrogant. After all, there are many Chinese immigrants and expatriates in Britain. Maybe some of them understand. As long as Dumbledore is willing to take the time to look for it, there are always more solutions than difficulties. Let me also mention something about the setting of the world of reincarnation. We know that the world of Harry Potter is not the entire Earth, but only occupies a portion of the locations where the main plot takes place. So China in this world does not really exist. However, they are still counted in the reincarnation space. A bit like a computer program backend. Therefore, Dumbledore can indeed send those 7 secret books to China. China will also undergo some changes and have some impacts. However, Xiao Ming was unable to witness these changes with his own eyes. If he stays in this world long enough, he might feel some of the aftermath.